it's a heartwarming that people show up and give of their essence, the way our music team does. We're going to co-create this message today together. The songs, my words and my song, you're writing them all along. We're going with that theme today. Last Saturday night, I went to the Buddy Wakefield event. What was it called? It's his world tour. It's Buddy Wakefield. It was amazing. It was wonderful. And then on Sunday afternoon, I raced out of here he was doing a workshop. And I wanted to get to that workshop. And he said something profound that has just been resonating in my head. He told everyone, it was a writing workshop, and he said, you're going to be told over and over again by your teachers, by your parents, by your coaches, by everyone in your life that you need more passion. You've got to have more passion. You need more passion. Passion's where it's at. You've got to work on your passion. And he took a breath, and he said, no, you don't. What you need is rest. Boy, that hit home for me. You need rest. And then later in the week, I was having a conversation on Facebook with a college friend. She's a single mother of 3. She's a school teacher. Her ex-husband moved several hours away, so a couple times a month she's got to take a couple hours drive to meet the custody arrangements. She's in Virginia. They've had not as much snow as Connecticut, but a lot of snow, a lot of snow days. And she said, I really need a vacation, a little R&R. That resonated with me too. And then I started thinking about last week's message and what Reverend Deidre said, and she was talking about how she was watching the songbirds and how they didn't worry about anything. Even with all of this snow, there was no worry and no concern because they knew. Through grace, they would receive and they would have the nourishment that they needed, even though everything was covered in snow. And so those 3 things, I'm going to try and put those together for you today because I've been unpacking them. It's another thing I got from Buddy last week. I've been unpacking those stories and those ideas this week. And I had this realization that I don't want my life to be a life where I need a vacation. Right? But that means that I'm living in a place of tension, in a ball of anxiety that I want to release sometime. And what I do want is I want a life that is an adventure of discovery, that is filled with passion, that's filled with love, that's filled with expression and honest, vulnerable communication with the people I love. And so I decided I needed to shift that. I need a little R&R. And so the first R for me is release. I need a little bit of release. And when I say release, I want to focus on 2 things. Release is letting go of what is not working in our lives. Release is letting go of what is not working in our lives. It's painful feelings, limiting beliefs, maybe even specific situations. And the other piece is forgiveness. Release is about surrendering, and it's about working with what is and not struggling against it. To keep your heart and your mind open to whatever arises. Byron Katie says in Loving What Is, and this came up in a discussion this week with Tom. Byron Katie tells us, the only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. The only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. We don't feel natural or balanced. When we stop opposing reality, action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. And release gives me the opportunity to experience acceptance. And acceptance is letting go of our expectations about how things should be. And just appreciating what is. Now, release is important because if we're living in an opposition to what is, if we are living from the expectation of what should be, then we're vibrating at a frequency of what should be. We're holding on. Do you guys get the metaphysics of vibration? I think this is why the songbird image kept coming back to me from the talk last week. A cardinal finds its mate because of its song. And the song is a vibration. So it's attracting based on vibration. And whatever thoughts we are holding, that is the song. Those are the words that we're having. That's what we're vibrating at, and that's what we're attracting to us. And if we're attracting opposition, there is more tension. There's more tension in our emotions. There's more tension in our bodies. And then we buy into the belief that I need a vacation. I'm checking into it. I need. Last time I spoke with you, we did PMS. Remember our particularly messy stories. And I talked about prayer. I talked about denials. And I offered a denial. Do you guys remember that denial? There is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong. Now, I got some pushback from that. And I love that I got pushback. I love that we are creating an environment where people feel safe enough to say, hey, I got a problem with that. I love that. Now, in truth, I've seen some pretty horrendous situations in life. I watched a friend suffer with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, it took every fiber of my being to live in that duality where I am watching a friend die and hold on to the spiritual truth that there is nothing wrong. And there's pain in that, and there's tension in that. And the thing is my friend did not have ALS. My friend did not die. My friend's body had ALS. Because he is not his body. You are not your body. You have a body. You are a spiritual being that is here to have a physical experience with your body. But again, I love that I'm getting feedback. Feedback's great. And yet, I'm called to release. I had to release a lot of pain, a lot of beliefs about that situation. And in even preparing for today, I had to release some stuff. I had to release today a belief that I'm responsible for other people's emotions. I had to release a belief that I'm not good enough. I had to release today a belief that there is something missing in my life. I had to release the idea that I have been abandoned. See, those things, when I release them, I'm no longer living in what it should look like. And being here, now, present with what is. Are there things in your life that would help you if you release them? Somebody yelling out at me.
Fear.
Fear? Yeah. Fear's a great one.
Lack.
Lack? Thank you, JP.
Expectations.
Expectations?
Blame.
Oh, blame?
Should have. I should have said this, I should have said that, and we're living the conversation.
Yeah. Think about what you might be willing to release so that you can be more fully present in this moment. More fully in this moment. And the other is forgiveness. And Buddy introduced me to the most amazing definition of forgiveness I've ever heard. Because I went online and watched the talk. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is releasing all hope for a better past. It doesn't get any more concrete than that. Forgiveness is releasing all hope for a better past. Resonate on that. Think about that. Because, forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with anybody else in your life. You can be angry and hold that grudge. And you know what it does to the person you're angry with? But boy, doesn't it create tension and angst in your life and creates this whole thing where you go, I need a vacation. But if we learn to release, if we practice forgiveness, if we can take the ultimate challenge and live the way Jesus asked us to, and to love one another as I have loved you, then life gets to be an adventure of discovery where we don't need a vacation. So, that's the first R. We've talked about release. Take a breath with me. The second R, as I unpacked this for myself, and I ask you to try it on, and if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But the second R is responsibility. Responsibility is about knowing this is mine to do. Okay? Responsibility is not the shoulds from someone else. Your parents say you should do this. Your spouse says you should do that. Your boss says you should do this. Your responsibility is not about a job description. In this case, I'm talking about spiritual discernment. It's about that place where you give up, where you release and let go all of these beliefs, and then you sit in the presence of now, in that moment where you know yourself as a spiritual being. And you sit in that moment and you know. What are you called to do? How are you called to stand forth in this community, in this world? What are you called to be? What are you called to do? Responsibility is founded in spiritual truth and in spiritual law. Okay? You were created in the image and likeness of the Creator. You've heard me say that before. If you're created in the image and likeness of the Creator, then you are created to create. Okay? So what are you here to create? What are you called to create in this moment? Now, I've been reflecting on my responsibility as the celebration team leader. And so, I realized I needed to release. I have to make everybody happy. Hey, I'm powerful. I'm not that powerful. I've had to release that everybody has to love me. You know what? Everybody doesn't have to love me.
But we do.
But I do have to love everybody. I've released the idea that everybody has to be comfortable. Because when I was holding those thoughts, I was vibrating at a frequency that's unsustainable for me. I was holding on to thoughts, and I was getting a little overwhelmed. And you know what? I needed a vacation. I needed some R&R. And so, I released those things. And then I did my own spiritual discernment. As the celebration team leader, I am responsible for co-creating an environment that promotes safety and an experience of community love. As a celebration team leader, I am responsible for supporting the spiritual growth of this community. And as the celebration team leader, I am responsible for inviting you to step outside your comfort zone. You are safe here. But that moment where you're willing to experience your discomfort in a safe environment, that's where there is an opportunity for growth, for spiritual growth. You know, I told you I love getting feedback, and I got some feedback in the offering bag a couple weeks ago. One person was uncomfortable with the fervor in which I did affirmative prayer with one of our congregants. And I love that they were willing to tell me that. I love that. But in my role as a celebration team leader, I'm going to meet people's energy where they are, where I feel it emotionally. And if that makes someone uncomfortable, I invite you to sit with that. Is there an opportunity for personal growth? And if I touch something in you that you need to talk to me about, come talk to me. Because maybe there's a place for me to have some spiritual growth too. As a celebration team leader, I am responsible for listening to and responding to the desires of this community. You've noticed some shifts in our program in the past 2 months. We now have another opening prayer because someone told me they missed it. The 5 principles are back. They're in an abbreviated format, but people were telling me, I missed the 5 foundational principles, Todd. I want to see them back. So they're back. They're abbreviated, so we've got more time. But they're back so you can be reminded of this is what we believe. And finally, at the end of our service, we hadn't been blessing our offering. Somebody told me, I want to bless the offering, God. I want to bless this as it goes out into the world. And so we're doing that too. So I'm responsible to listen and to respond to the desires of our community. So that's what I found out in my discernment about my responsibility in this role that I have with this hat that I wear. And so I invite you, once you've done some reflecting and some releasing, I want you to rest. Not a vacation rest, but rest in the silence. Rest in the presence of now, where you know that you are Spirit expressing. And listen, what are you called to do? How are you being asked to show up in the world? What is your responsibility in this life, and what is your responsibility in this spiritual community? And I want to invite you to consider 2 laws as you think about this spiritual community. The law of increase and the law of circulation. This ministry, Unity in Greensboro, is only as successful to the degree that our community invests in it. Unity in Greensboro is only successful to the degree that we invest in it. Invest our time, our talent, and our treasures. And so as you do your spiritual discernment, I ask that you really consider, what talent do you have that is needed here? What additional talent do you have that is needed here? is that we have a lot of people in service. But how can you share your time? And then I want you to consider, are you sharing your treasure? Is tithing a priority in your life? I'm releasing the belief right now that people are uncomfortable hearing about money in a Sunday message. I'm going to release that right now. Okay? Because we got to talk about money for a second. Take a breath. Close your eyes. And I want to invite you to share this vision with me right now. Unity in Greensboro is a dynamic spiritual community that pays all its bills on time. We have a creation fund that is ready for use as this ministry evolves. And this ministry joyfully participates in the law of circulation by celebrating our prosperity, by tithing to other spiritual communities that are shifting to a community-based leadership model. I'm going to read that one more time. Unity in Greensboro is a dynamic spiritual community that pays all its bills on time. We have a creation fund that is ready for use as this ministry evolves. And this ministry joyfully participates in the law of circulation by celebrating our prosperity, by tithing to other spiritual communities that are shifting to a community-based leadership model. Take a breath. I'm going to ask right now that you commit to tithing your talent and your time and your treasure to what this ministry can be. Not to what it may appear to be right now, but to what it can be. I ask that you tithe based on the prosperity that you want to see your life as being. Not what you may see it as being right now. Release your ideas of what should be. Release the shoulds of their, we should have a minister, this should have been said, that should have been said, this should be happening. Release all of that, and in this moment, embrace what is. Because we do have a dynamic, beautiful spiritual community. And I release in this moment that anyone is uncomfortable with us talking about money in a Sunday service. You need to know that financial gifts to this community have been down lately. You need to know that to pay the bills that are currently due and to make our payroll, we need an offering today of about $6,000. It's a good thing we're prosperous, right? There is no lack, right? There is nothing wrong. There is no lack. And then, I'm living in that tension of, what I'm looking at. It's the paradox of living in the truth that we do live in an abundant world, an abundant universe, and all our needs are met. We just need to be open and willing to receive. Okay? But remember, Jesus said, do you want to be healed? He didn't say, okay, lay there and I'll heal you. He said, pick up your bed and walk. You've got to do your part. And as divine as the universe is, I get a phone call last night at 8 o'clock from our board president. And this is exciting. We have a challenge. Some member of our congregation, I don't know who it is, I'd like to hug them. Some member of our congregation has said, the next 3 weeks, add up what you get and average it. Okay? And I'll match that up to $5,000. Wow. Isn't that great? breath. Today I'm going to ask you to tithe on what this spiritual community can be, and not the appearance of what it should be. Accept what is, because it is a vibrant, beautiful, loving community. And with you showing up after spiritual discernment and knowing what is yours to do, we're going to have to move, because we're definitely going to need a bigger building. We all have enough passion. We need more rest and relaxation. With release, letting go of what no longer serves us. Discerning what is ours to do in this world and in this spiritual community. When we rest in the comfort of spirits. When we know ourselves as love. When we can relax into divine flow, we no longer need a vacation. Life becomes a wonderful adventure of discovery. Namaste.